Mm. Welcoming you all into this live transmission. I am Geeia Ariati. I am of sound heart and sound mind. And I am also in a state of expanding beyond the havingness limit. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about resistance. I'm going to talk to you about the trap of healing. I'm going to talk to you about our mind's perspective and the way that we receive these different interpretations of reality and how we manipulate ourselves in the very presentation of that. So if you are joining in, we are going to take some deep breaths together. We are going to breathe in and breathe out, and we are going to look at this from the most open-hearted, open-minded, synergistic, receptive way as possible. So taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. I feel like am I on private? There's no one tuning in. Is there anyone here? Is there anyone out there? um, let's see. Yeah, let me know if you're here. If you're not, I might have my settings set onto a private recording because I often do that for my group containers. Oh, yay, we have 2 viewers. Wonderful. So breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Now, if you have not seen one of my videos transmissions before, be aware that these can bring through a lot of frequency, remembrance, activations. Make sure that you are in a place where you can drop in and receive on all levels, not just from your cognitive mind, but through your entire body and your vessel, allowing yourself to be present with your experience. Now I'm being guided to share this, and I giggled because I'm like, am I actually avoiding my resistance? What is this? And it was, use this very moment to speak into the very truth of what is alive, right? So a big part of my message is to be truthful, honest, raw, real, authentic in relation to everything that I do, everything that I share with the world is to express from a place of truth, from my own personal experience, from my remembrance, and from the information that is being guided to me from source. So in this current moment, I have come to recognize that I am not what I would call resisting, but I've met a cap within myself of an energetic suppression. So I want to talk to you about what resistance is. Resistance energetically is where you meet a point where the energy has to start to shift, change, and alchemize. So it's like having a ceiling height, and you have a ceiling height, and when you meet the top of the ceiling, you need to either break open the ceiling or you're going to bounce at the top of the ceiling like a balloon, right? What do you call them? A helium balloon, right? A helium balloon comes up and it will just bounce at the top of the roof, and it will bounce and it will bounce and it bounce. And it's in a point of resistance because what it really wants to do is it wants to fly up and out of the experience and travel and explore, and that balloon is stuck and it's contained, and it will just bounce up and down there until it either deflates. So the helium starts to deflate and it loses its life force and it starts to soften, and eventually it will drop to the floor, or a window or a door gets open and it gets sucked out into the air and it gets to go explore its experience. So that is what you could call, in a really interesting terminology, what resistance is. It's a helium balloon that has an option to either fly free or bounce at the top of the roof until it loses its energetic frequency. And so how do we break through the ceiling height or open the door or the window for a new exploration? Because eventually what happens is that balloon, if we do not open a window or we don't open the space for it to set itself free, it will go into a lower vibration, or it will effectively go into some level of death or rebirth cycle. Now, this story and the manipulation that we have around healing is that healing is eternal, healing never stops, healing is forever. That is not true. We as beings can transcend the healing and the suffering story. That is a narrative that we've all bought into that keeps us in these repetitive cycles. The story that we must contract to expand is another delusional story that's being created. Because what you can do is when you hit these points or these limits, instead of doing what you've always done, which is lowering your vibration, going into a winter self-realization aspect of going inward, which continues this polarized expression of being, you can actually expand up and out simultaneously. So we are taught, and shadow work is powerful. It's amazing. It's needed in our life experience. I do a lot of shadow work with people looking at core aspects. I've looked at a lot of my own pieces in relation to this. This is working cool. I was like, does this thing work? So there is a lot of need to look at core aspects, but then there's also the recognition that there is a time that you need to step out of shadow work. There is a time that you've done a lot of the dissension. There is a time where you could do it in a different way, where you could expand and evolve into a higher frequency of remembrance or claim unconditional love rather than looking at where I feel unloved. Because you can look for infinite reasons as to why you're unlovable. You can look for infinite core distortion points or separation points, and the brain is programmed and created in that way so that the brain is a problem solver, and it will look for what is wrong, what is wrong, what is wrong. Your entire human experience has a brain that is fragmented to go, what is wrong in this experience? What do I need to fix? What do I need to change? What do I need to alchemize? And so your default program is to problem solve. The brain, however, hasn't yet, in our reality, we have to remember and to see this, is that the brain can then go into, actually, what if there was nothing wrong, and instead it was that there's something right, or there's a possibility, or there's an opportunity? What if I shifted the word from the wrongness and allowed for the expansion energy to come through as I'm looking at what is here? Because your body is going to meet a resistance or a havingness limit or a point of expansion in the same way. It's going to feel the same. So you're going to feel a sense of stagnation. You're going to feel a sense of depletion. You're going to feel a sense of fatigue. You're going to feel a sense of apathy. You're going to feel a sense of perhaps depression. You're going to feel a sense of mental sluggishness. You're going to feel as though you are hitting some kind of roof like a balloon that you can't get back to, and you're bobbling around, right? That is a natural state of how you're going to feel when you meet that. How that looks in a creation space is you hit a lull. You hit a point where you are maybe your client, your healing clients, there you've got to a point where you don't get any new clients and you maintain the same number. Or if you are in sales, you hit a sales amount that keeps repeating over a few months, and you can't seem to get past it. If you are from expansion of inner expression and you're raising your frequency, you get stuck and you feel like you haven't really evolved or moved beyond any specific new experiences of energy or gifts or abilities. This is all a sign of meeting a point of a capacity. So a resistance point, if you want to call it. I don't like calling it that because resistance is connected to negativity, shadow, core beliefs in regards to triggers. Now, yes, we need to look at those things, but what if we're labeling our experience with the wrong energetic expression, and we're saying that this is resistance when it's actually expansion? and you are meeting something from the wrong perspective of what is there, and you keep looking at it and you're wondering why you can't fix it, because there's actually nothing there to fix. It's actually opening a new window, opening a new door, expanding beyond. Now, even if it was a resistance point, you have an opportunity in that moment to say, okay, if I was willing to see the point of resistance, could I expand beyond it to dissolve it? And so you will feel these over and over and over again. The more that your vibration increases and the more that you are spiraling the self-realization journey, the more that you're healing, that does not end, right? And that is a delusion if we decide that creation ends, because you are constantly experiencing through a new lens of perspective of a new consciousness level. So, in that way, creation is eternal. And you will experience the spiral of life over and over and over. And you will loop the infinite loop of consciousness from different lens of seeing thyself through the mirrors of others. And how you meet that becomes that of which is not any more suffering. That becomes a new experience because you're a new energetic expression. You have a new perspective of it. And so it's no longer considered boring or uncomfortable or painful, because you're actually evolving and you're coming from a different lens of interpretation each time. That is what growth or consciousness evolution would be. But most of us get stuck in the old identity of placing the perspective of our life experience onto the now moment. And that causes pain. So you may have evolved out of something and something's coming up and you're like, it's here again, it's here again. And I've got this resistance point, and why is this here again? And I'm so resistant to doing it. Now, this is the other part that's really amazing. So the whole reason that I'm on this call sharing this at this point is because I am at a point where my body is literally shutting me down right now, because I have something that I need to expand into, and I haven't created the space to expand into my stuff. And what happens is when you're tired, you're like, I don't have the energy, right? So it's like, I'm too tired to do the healing. I'm too tired to make the space. I'm too tired. I just need to rest. I need to eat. I need to do this. I need to do that, right? The brain will create any story. Now, depending on what your consciousness evolution is, it might not even have a story, and you might not even realize that you're doing the thing that you've always done until you're in the thing and you're like, oh, whoops, I just played out an old program. And then you're in this space of needing to create space to lean into what is there. Leaning in doesn't mean that you're going to lean into trauma. Leaning in doesn't mean that you're going to lean into something dark and terrible, because the brain has only got what it has had in the past that it wants to put on this resistance point. But what's here for me currently, as to why I'm bringing this to the forefront, is an expansion point. It's actually a really beautiful point, and it's in regards to my divine union energy. Now, what my body's doing is hitting that havingness limit, right? And you can only stay there so long, and you start to get forced into, okay, if you're not going to expand up into it, the life force energy starts to become fatigued and exhausted or overwhelmed. And so the way that your inner being and your energy goes, okay, well, we need to look at what the shadow aspect is, so that we can alchemize the shadow and expand up. And this is where we go into the dissension, ascension, dissension, ascension aspect of the yin yang of experience, where we don't have to do that. So right now I'm at a point, right, a choice point really, where I could go, I'm going to keep distracting myself right now, and I'm going to show up, I'm going to write some stuff, I'm going to put it on social media, I'm going to do another video, I might book this client in, I'm going to do this. And that may very well be exactly what I choose to do in this moment, because I'm of service and I'm here to be here for humanity and whatever other story you would like to put on it. But the the truth would be that my body will slowly force me into what needs to be alchemized. So your frequency has to shift eventually. It will shift either through ease and grace, or it will shift through the point of breaking that frequency down to alchemize it. And you have a choice of how you meet these opportunities of expansion, of consciousness, of realization or transformation. And in that, it's these moments where you go, okay, I am feeling like I don't really want to look at this, but why? Right? So often we go, I don't want to look at it, it's too scary, I don't want to look at it, it's fearful, I don't want to look at it because it's uncomfortable, I don't want to look at it because I have to change, I don't want to look at it because I have to take ownership. Now, for me, those things are not scary at all. Like, I've done so much ownership, I've done so much shadow work, I've done so much purging. I don't have fear of looking into the dark. But what I do feel uncomfortable about is the level of expansion into purity and into transformation at the level of I don't know what that is, right? Because I know pain and suffering, I know challenge, I know heartbreak, but there's a part of my inner being that still, in my body, has a natural response of this is uncomfortable. I don't know what this is like. I haven't felt this before. So this is normal for the human being to go, I don't know what this feels like. And it is uncomfortable. And we're naturally geared and programmed to step out of the discomfort, not to allow the discomfort to open us into remembrance or connection or self realization. And so leaning in to those moments, it's like right now, I know where I'm at within my journey, that I have alchemized my darkness. I have alchemized my shadow. And yes, there's threads of distortion and little tricky manipulative bits, but I don't have an ego or an identity that is keeping me in that old paradigm of separation that no longer exists in my experience. It has been integrated. I have expanded beyond that. But there are parts of this reality that are showing up in different ways. And that is the lens of being in full, pure connection to source is a whole different experience. It's a whole different reality. And to navigate that when you've only got your past programming is very interesting because it is completely new. And you literally need to stop and listen to God, what are you guiding now? God, what are you asking of me now? What is this? Now, because I've done so much healing on myself and transformation and worked on consciousness with myself and others, I know that every time this point comes up, that magic is on the other side. Absolute magic is on the other side. And so that was the thing that has kept me, and what I continue to tell my initiates and anyone that is in the space. Yeah, you might be afraid to look at that darkness. It might be terrifying. It might be scary. That shadow point, or that inner child, or that past life memory, or that aspect of you that you've denied even exists that's really icky. Yeah, it might be hard to look at it. But once you look at it, you meet those beliefs, you meet those values, those attachments, whatever is there. What is actually on the other side of the darkness is pure magic. It's absolute divinity, and it's gorgeous every time. You should never be doing a healing and be stuck in the ickiness or the shadow. It means you haven't actually alchemized the healing. You should be coming into the connection of source, into a greater self realization of calling those soul fragments back, calling that hidden piece of you that was in your subconscious into the unconditional love of yourself, where you reclaim yourself. And so every time you move through whatever it is, whether you're moving through it through the distortion lens of shadow work, and you're going through the shadow to return to the light, or if you are moving through a capacity point, right? A havingness limit, a belief system, and you're expanding beyond. There is still going to be this aspect of beyond. On the other side, you only receive more source frequency. You only deepen your connection with self. You only deepen your connection with light and the world. There is no end to creation. So the more that you meet Source, God, Creator within yourself, the more that you expand into seeing that, receiving that, and having it all. And we can have it all here in this experience. So I know that this fatigue is actually just a prevention that I'm creating for myself to having more of a depth of a connection with source, more of a beautiful human experience, more of like, I love my life. I love my work. I love who I am as a being. I am in absolute awe of everything in my experience. Yet there is still this default that happens in the body and the nervous system because it's been programmed for so long, and you've got ancestral memories that are there, that it's not okay to have more. It's not okay to ask for more. It's not okay to expand beyond this point. And so you get to a point where your brain wants to go, oh, I've got enough. It's good now. I can just stay here. And that's stagnation. You can choose to stop evolving. There's many enlightened beings that have chosen to maintain their consciousness. Now you can do that. That's not an option for me. I've chosen to continue to that was an interesting thought form. The words that wanted to come through was fight the good fight. That just apparently resonates on some level of my consciousness. And so in that, I'm here to continue to expand, to continue to evolve, to continue to see different lenses of that, of the one God, source, creator in all things, to maintain a higher octave of source frequency within physical form. And that means that this journey continues, and I'm not going to meet maintenance. So the resistance is not what we believe it to be. It is just a point of seeing it through the lens of how you want to experience it. How do you want to continue to evolve? Do you want to continue to evolve into expanding into more of yourself? Or is there points that you need to go into the depths so you can do that? But how are you looking at your experience? What healing traps have you created? That I believe that healing goes forever, that the story of separation, we're always separate from God because we are human beings, those stories are the ones that are going to keep you in the suffering. They're not going to allow you that sovereignty, that freedom to remember the king and the queen and the child of God that you are. So, in closing, before I go and look at my havingness limit and expand into what is next for me, feel into where is it that your story of healing and transformation is actually locking you up into limitation and repeating the same experiences over and over again. I love you so very deeply. If you enjoyed this transmission, please like, subscribe, and share with anyone who you feel might get some resonance out of this. And I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Pariata te keriano, oriandai te keria sutuko shutuko rea te arianai, mi iti keriano okoyanai, daya kerehi. Nandarai tarahui, e sandaya teyo. I love you, I love you, I love you. Have an amazing day.